40% of cancers can be prevented through lifestyle changes, including through better nutrition. But what does that actually entail? And how do we do this when we're constantly bombarded with online misinformation? To answer this, I've spent the past few months interviewing experts from a variety of fields.
So my name is Jennifer. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Nutrition at Toronto Metropolitan University.
My name is Dr. Cameron Norman. I am an adjunct professor in the Dalhousie School of Public Health.
My name is Blair Bigham. I'm an ICU doctor and a scientist at the University of Toronto.
My name is David Jenkins, and I'm a professor of nutritional sciences and of medicine at the University of Toronto.
My name is Elizabeth Farku. I'm a resident physician in internal medicine at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts.
Let's begin with the nutrition information, and specifically plant analogs. What are they, and why can they be a little bit trickier than we might initially think?
There's a lot of current evidence, and also Canada's Food Guide, the most recent one from 2019, also recognizes that plant-based protein foods are beneficial for our health and then reducing the risk of certain cancers. But the challenge is that we're not used to consuming plant-based proteins as part of our meals, so we have low consumption, generally speaking. So what a lot of companies have been doing is trying to mimic animal-based products using plant-based protein so we can increase our consumption of plant-based protein. But the plant-based analogs typically include a lot of additives or different ingredients that may not be beneficial for us. So for a lot of the plant-based analogs, like the meat patties, they would be high in saturated fat or sodium.
On the topic of food and culture, let's turn to another expert to discuss alcohol consumption and cancer.
So when it comes to cancer prevention, the best recommendation that we can give people is actually to avoid alcohol completely. And the reason for this is that alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen. And what that means is that alcohol is known to cause cancer in humans. And it's the same class as things like cigarettes or UV tanning beds. And so really from a cancer prevention perspective, it's best to avoid it entirely. But we recognize that many people will choose to consume alcohol. And so for those who choose to consume alcohol, we'd recommend to keep the risk of an alcohol-related cancer low to limiting to no more than 2 standard drinks per week, with a standard drink being something like 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of spirits.
Broadening our scope further, let's think about how our diet choices also impact the environment and thus have a multifactorial impact on our cancer risk.
It's very important, especially as we've got climate change as another major issue with absolutely global consequences, that I think if we've got a method of changing the diet so that it does both things, both the cancer and chronic diseases and the greenhouse gas emissions and the loss of animal species around the world, etc., etc. I think we're doing a good job, and I think that that's the sort of direction one feels happy with.
All this information has been incredibly helpful, but let's not forget about the abysmal state of misinformation online either, and hear from some of our other experts on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of information written on cancer. So that's the one thing. It's a good thing. It's also a problem. The other problem with cancer is that there's a lot of different types of cancer out there. You have different causes, different consequences, and the data is a little all over the place. And part of the problem is that some of it isn't that accessible to the average person. So sometimes we rely on things like stories, personal narratives, or people's interpretations of the evidence. Some of that can be very good. Some of it can also be quite problematic.
Another expert agrees here too.
Social media techniques these days are very, very emotional. They're very good at connecting with us. People look right into the camera like I am now, and they build trust. They usually use anecdote, personal stories to talk about their own experience, and they then try to translate that experience as being a certainty for other people.
So how do we address this?
When you're consuming social media, just make sure that your analytic brain is still activated, that you're still saying, well, wait a minute, does this match my circumstance? And if you can do that, then you're definitely ahead of the curve.
And at the end of the day, just keep this in mind.
People can do things to prevent cancer, and it's not a guarantee, but there are things we can do, and the everyday choices we make do have an influence and an impact.